Alright folks, we've returned. We're going to start case number 3. Thanks to these three, Ace, Cecile, and Bruna. Case number 3 in Mysteries of the Past. In the Line of Fire. Matthew, I cannot believe the New Haven police station has caught on fire. What's worse, I hear the fire started in the evidence room, and that's where we store the evidence from our own cases as well. We must go make sure we can salvage as much as possible. Onward, Matthew. Marshal Matthew, you've arrived in time. I'm Billy Thompson of the Concordia Fire Brigade. We've just put out the fire. Pleasure to meet you. We're here to oversee the salvaging efforts of the evidence room. We do hope there hasn't been too much damage. That will have to wait. We lost one of our best firemen to the flames. His name was Otis Kidd. I found his body in the evidence room. I cannot believe he's dead. Our condolences, Mr. Thompson, but that's not all, Marshal Matthew. We have reason to believe the fire was not an accident. Dash my wig! Arson and a dead body? Matthew, we must get to the bottom of this. Mr. Thompson, we'll take over from here. Matthew, there's no time to waste. Into the police station we go. I have 14 hints, but I'm going to make it 15 just because I want to. Oh my, that's him. Ah, there it is. The barrel. I'm one of the first people in here. Cool. Oh my, Matthew, this man's nearly all burned up. However, I don't believe it was the fire that killed him. It appears he's been shot in the back. I imagine Mr. Thompson will be saddened by the news. A colleague dying in the line of duty is heroic. The one dying by a gunshot is murder. Matthew, this murder could be connected to our arson investigation. If that's the case, we must solve it at once. Sterling observation, Matthew. This charred barrel might hold some clues. We must search through it. Matthew, since the fire started here in the evidence room, it's best if we speak with Officer Wimple, the evidence room clerk. Let us go find him. Start the autopsy, and I'm going to get some stars to sit tight. Sorry guys, my computer screen decided to fail on me. So I'm going to examine the barrel first. There we are. A wooden cup. Matthew, that wooden cup you found inside the burned barrel is stained with blood. Perhaps the killer could have tried to get rid of this. With blood on this cup, the best person to see is Viola. We must get this to her immediately. 3 hours. Matter of fact, hold on a minute, folks. Okay. Let's talk to Edward Wimple now. Officer Wimple, may we have a word? What? Yes, of course, I apologize. I'm beside myself with this whole fire affair. So much evidence, just gone. Indeed, and a fireman was murdered during the fire. One Otis Kidd. We'd like to ask you some questions about him. Mr. Kidd was murdered? How tragic! The damage done to my evidence room is devastating, but to think an actual life has been lost, it's unfathomable. So you knew him. Only in passing. He was from the Concordia Fire Brigade, which is just a block away, so we knew each other by sight. I heard he was quite the hero. Thank you, Officer Wimple. If you could keep yourself available for further questioning, we'd greatly appreciate it. Matthew, Officer Wimple mentioned the victim's fire station was nearby. Good thinking. If we want to learn about our victim, we must visit the firehouse at once.
New plan, same doctor.
It's Medicare open enrollment.
Moment, folks.
The move is usually sleep with the person's boyfriend, but I kind of feel like I'm already doing that.
Then the Outdoor Limits team is teaching a boss to speak millennial.
Those are Soups for Dixon, totes off me.
Did you just get to spell on me? Doors right after a new Big Bang Theory CBS tonight.
Unusual category, decorative arts. Gentlemen, here's your clue. In the early 1700s in Dresden, King Augustus locked up a chemist until he found how to make it.
One was a
Okay.
Forerunner. The other vehicle was a very popular vehicle. I donated that because they did two new vehicles. If the car is drivable, make them come in there, they'll pick it up.
Call the National Kidney Foundation.
Clock.
593-1515.
Sorry guys, there was a problem with my tablet. It was low on battery.
Just take 30% off regular price brands and designers that almost never go on sale. Macy's Friends and Family Sale starts tomorrow.
Matthew, that handkerchief is rather feminine, a bit out of place here. Let us take a sample of that lip color. And perhaps this broken frame can tell us more about our victim. We should restore it. Moment again.
A child's note to Santa, a mother's wish for her family, a father's hope for the future. This holiday season, join KITV and Helping Hands Hawaii in giving a local family much needed support. Adopt a family to make their season brighter. Watch for their special stories on KITV Island News.
Oh, just missed D9. Matthew, the frame seems to be a metal display case. Unfortunately, the engraved plaques are barely visible anymore. Perhaps a good dusting can help us.
Welcome back. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is calling on President Barack Obama to stop construction on the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Growing up in Hawaii, I learned the value of caring for our planet and the basic principle that we are all connected in this great.
Matthew, the two plaques on the metal display case are dedicated to two men we know. The first name is of our victim, Otis Kidd, and the second name is that of Billy Thompson, the fireman we met earlier. Both of them earned the Medal of Honor, the highest honor a fireman can earn. Our victim really was a hero. Chances are Mr. Kidd and Mr. Thompson were close. We should inform him this was no ordinary death in the line of duty.
Gabbard is set to join thousands of veterans who request protection this weekend. They'll stand in solidarity with the Standing Rock Sioux in North Dakota. The project, a 1,200-mile
Inform him.
under construction through tribal lands from western North Dakota.
Mr. Thompson, we don't mean to intrude, but we must inform you that Mr. Kidd's death was not accidental. He was murdered. Murdered? Otis? That cannot be true. Otis was like a brother to me. We even won the Medal of Honor together. Would you know anyone who would have wanted to hurt him? Otis was a hero in Concordia. I cannot think of anyone who would have wanted to kill him. Marshal Matthew, I'll do anything I can to help you catch this killer. Thank you for your offer. I'm sure we'll talk again, Mr. Thompson.
The drugs are not able right now that are available to patients to go in and get rid of the virus. So we're looking at agents that may be able to shut the virus out of its hiding place. Doctors say anyone living
Well, I'm
with
probably going to
HIV
have
access
to wait even longer.
and to see the doctor or the Department of Health. This special presentation of the Honolulu
There we are.
Marathon is brought to you by
8. Matthew, now that we have a sample of the lip color from the handkerchief, we can take it to Viola. It's amazing what she can do in her laboratory.
To become one of the world's largest marathons. Michael Sy, a journalist who used
9
to
hours.
for the Honolulu Advertiser, says the growth of the race was linked directly to the growth of Hawaii, which was
I'm going to at least let the autopsy run its course, but since I'm behind, I'll be speeding up the last two. Or at least this one first. But for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, in return, I'm going to get the results of this. Matthew, I was hoping to use your arm to test a new intravenous medication I've concocted. My veins are all taken up at the moment. As tempting as that sounds, we aren't here on a social visit. We'd like to know about the gunshot victim we brought in earlier, Otis Kidd. Right, Mr. Kidd. The cause of death is the gunshot wound to his torso inflicted at close range, most likely an Ivory Johnson safety automatic revolver. Once inside the building, the victim must have been shot and then dragged into the fire to set the scene. Fortunately, the killer left behind evidence. While dragging Mr. Kidd's body into the fire, the killer left traces of a white powdery substance. I discovered the white substance to be residue of cocaine toothache drops, popular with those suffering from tooth problems, available at any pharmacy in town. They are quite effective and give a boost of energy. Matthew, our killer takes cocaine toothache drops, and they'll need more than drops to soothe the pain of your cunning.
Thank you, Dad.
Who says no to more? Handle gives you more of what you and those little data hoppers want, like ultra fast speeds up to 300
Alright, let's go ahead.
2 times faster than DSL.
And this too.
Get 50 meg internet starting at $29.99 a month and receive a free speed up.
Matthew, may I test your olfactory senses for a moment? I've created a new scent for my latest perfume. I call it Musk. Oh my, Viola, that's quite the strong scent. Before you continue working on the interesting aroma, could you give us some information regarding the wooden cup we found in the barrel? With pleasure. First, not only do the blood smudges match your victim's blood type, but their freshness confirms this cup was handled right after Otis was killed. Second, its deliberate placement in that barrel shows the killer tried to hide it, which means it could be crucial in identifying them. That's great. But what is that cup for? I was a bit perplexed. Then it occurred to me. Understanding the popularity of dice games in Concordia, this cup is a dice shaker, often used by players to avoid any potential cheating. That means our killer plays dice games? Which also means, Matthew, we're now searching for a killer who likes to play dice with death.
I mean, since George Clooney's death was alcohol poisoning, had 5 times the legal limit in his blood.
It's not black ops, that's Houdini.
Matthew, have you ever been to China? I have not. However, I'm not sure what relevance the Far East has to Concordia at this moment. All the relevance in the world considering the lip color sample you sent me from that handkerchief. The particles in this sample consist of rice powder, lead, and safflower, which are often used in Chinese herbology. What you have here is known as Yanzi, expensive makeup coming from China. The bright color and the expensive quality limit its potential wearers. My bet is on Madame Jiang, a well-known and rather colorful brothel owner. A brothel? Interesting. If Madame Jiang is the person we must speak with, then on to see her we go.
Where'd she live?
Upper East, but
I got a DOB here.
Why her handkerchief was at the fire station?
Virginia's at.
Miss Jiang, we're detectives with the squad investigating the homicide of the fireman Otis Kidd. We found your handkerchief at the fire station. Have you been there recently? I have, yes. When the fire first started, I went to the fire station to ask them to help save my business. But Mr. Kidd just pushed me to the side and told me he had more important places to save. There is no place more important to me than my brothel. I offer the best services in all of Concordia.
There's no alcohol.
We're sure you do.
A few hours later.
But Mr. Kidd let so much of my brothel burn down. The upstairs floors are ruined. Fortunately, none of my girls were hurt, but I'll have very little business now. I'm not familiar with your line of work, but I hope you'll soon find another outlet for your services. Until then, please do not go far, as we may need to question you again. Matthew, here we are in the wake of a horrible fire, and we have yet another murder on our hands, and this one of a well-respected fireman. Matthew, there aren't normally this many murders in Concordia. I wouldn't want you to get the wrong idea. So far, between Mr. Thompson, our victim's close friend and fellow fireman, and Mr. Wimple, the evidence room clerk, they have nothing but praise to sing for our victim. As for Madame Jiang, she blames the victim for our victim for her brothel burning during the fire, but would she have murdered him over that? Matthew, have you heard? The police commissioner is on a muckraking tour. He wants to hunt down the victim's killer, dead or alive.
What's the charge?
No charge. Material witness and a flight risk.
That's all.
I'll see you guys for chapter 2.
Where are you taking it?